Hey everybody, VentureFox here, welcome back to Elite Dangerous. In my last video I built up a dolphin and took it out for a little spin. At the time I said that I was going to build myself a Diamondback Explorer, and today's that day. I should be able to pick up a Diamondback Explorer fairly cheaply, to be honest. They're not much above the dolphins at 1.2 million, these are 1.7. The Asp generally has a slightly longer jump range and it has more utility slots and so forth. The Diamondback Explorer is perfectly fine. It also runs cooler but takes longer to scoop. So there's pros and cons on both sides. Diamondback Explorer does come up cheaper, roughly about 3 to maybe even 10 million, depends on your outfitting and what you really want to do with it. I'm going for a build that's going to cost me roughly about 16 or 17 million today. So I'm going to pick one up now. Purchase options. Let's see, we want to just buy a new one. We don't want to trade in our Python. And here we are in our new Diamondback Explorer. One thing you will notice is that the Diamondback Explorer doesn't have as attractive a cockpit as the Asp. Now, one of the reasons why the people like the Asp so much is that you have a really great view out of the window. The Diamondback Explorer doesn't have that. Again, that's another one of the things that you sort of use to toss up between the two. Still, it's not bad. It's just a bit more strutty and wiry, and it's more raw, isn't it? It's more metallic. I do like... There's one thing about the Diamondbacks that no other ship really does, and that's the landing gear. Now, it actually rotates half the ship down to allow the landing gear to make contact with the floor, and I think that's fantastic. They need to do more like that. They need to put more ships in the game where it actually has some proper animation on the outside of the ship. I mean, we get a lot of lights and like vents opening up and stuff like that, but it would be really nice if we had ships that sort of transformed to land and stuff like that, just for the cool factor. Now, you can see the inside of the cockpit isn't particularly spacious, not like the Dolphin where you think you can get an extra seat in there. It's not that sort of ship. It's a very minimalistic, single-seated ship. But as you can see from the back of the seat view, the cockpit window area is actually still pretty open. So it does still serve pretty well as an Explorer. It's not as sexy as the Dolphin, is it? It's very rigid. It's kind of utilitarian sort of look to it. It's kind of cool though. I like it. I like the angular. I like the colours. The splash of orange on it makes it look pretty sweet. And when it's in flight, those big 3 engines make it look like a bit of a beast. Now I'm going to go into outfitting now. I've already got a build built up, ready to go into the ship. So I'm going to do that and then I'll be back to take you through what I've done. Okay, so we now have our Diamondback Explorer completely outfitted. It was about the same price as what I expected, looking at around 16, 17 million. The insurance cost is a little less than I expected though. It's 656,000. My build came out at about 800,000, but that's a welcome change. Right, so let's have a look at what we got. Hard points wise, completely empty. We're not going to be doing any combat in this. If we are, then we're screwed either way. I've got a single heatsink launcher here. I don't see any need to have more than that. I've never used one while out in the back anyway, so hopefully we won't need them anymore. Core internals. Okay, so we stuck with lightweight alloys for obvious reasons. We don't want to be adding unnecessary weight to the ship. I have a 4A power plant. The reason for that is because I've gone with some higher level items. Now, you can have an alternate build where you go for much lower spec items, such as like a 2A power plant, and then you reduce all your thrusters and everything down to lower level ones as well. You can do that. You might gain a little bit more jump range out of it. You might not. It just kind of depends. It also keeps power levels down, which means heat generation. But the DBX generally has some pretty good heat generation. It stays cool. So you shouldn't really need to do it, but it is totally optional. People equip exploration ships however they wish. But I've gone with the higher end stuff because I want to be able to use high end thrusters, and I'll explain that in a second. So the 4A power plant gives me a maximum of 15.6 megawatts, and I'll be using about 14, so I don't have to disable anything, although I will disable something like, say, my hatch. My cargo hatch I'm not going to need for obvious reasons, and I can't store anything. So 4A thrusters. Now the reason for this is because I've gone with the planetary landing version. Now many people don't take an SRV out exploring, they just want to do planetary scans, and they're not going to land. It tends to be quite risky if you're really far out, if you're going for like super long distance. But, you know, I want to take an SRV. We've got the ability to land, so why not? Now, the reason for the 4A thrusters is basically I want to be able to boost, and I want to be able to land on high G planets. If the lower the boosters, lower the thrusters you have, obviously it makes it much more difficult to do those things, to maneuver on planets, to take off, to go quicker out of the atmosphere, that sort of thing. It just extends time and obviously makes it more dangerous to land on high G planets. 5A frameshift drive. This is a no-brainer. Obviously you need to have the longest possible jump range available. Now obviously, as you can see at the bottom, my jump minimum, current and max is 34.06 light years. And, you know, with engineering, you can get that well above 50 light years. About 54 I've seen for this build, but that's with the absolute best engineering on it, is about 54 light years. Probably won't manage that. I'll probably put like a level 3 on it before we go out, but we'll see how we end up with that at some point. 3D life support. Honestly, if you're out exploring and your window smashes, you're not going to get back in time. It doesn't matter where you are. So what's the point in having 3A? Basically, the 3D saves you weight, and you got 7.5 minutes to die, or to kind of log out and wait for the fuel rats to get to you. Either way, you don't need any more than the 3D. 4A power distributor. This is for boosting, really, if I'm absolutely honest. And I do have a shield, so it's kind of useful there, but it's really just for boosting. While we're in occupied space, it'll allow me to get away from interdictions and so forth, but as well as that, it's just for planetary maneuverability, being able to boost out of danger, out of the planet atmosphere, and for quick turns, stuff like that. So it's just there for that. Again, optionally, you could go down to a much lower power distributor, just something that allows you to use a single boost or something like that. And there you go. It's not really something that matters massive amount. 3D sensors. I'm not going to be locating ships and stuff like that while I'm out and about, hopefully, so I don't really need massive sensors. The D range is the lightest that you can get. E gets heavier, C gets heavier, and so forth. So you stick with the D if you want the lightest weight possible. And we stuck with the 5C fuel tank, which is obviously a 32 tons, which is a massive fuel tank anyway. So we don't want anything more than that. Optional internals. I've gone with a 4A shield generator. People will scoff and hoon and say, "Oh God, why are you using that stupid fuel generator?" I use it simply for planetary landings, and as well as that, I want to feel slightly safer when I'm returning and when I'm leaving the bubble. That really is the only reason. It doesn't help if you jump into a star or anything along those lines. If you're going to jump into a star, you might as well have your shield generator off anyway when you're out in the black. Just to save the heat that it generates. So we turn it off once we're a good sort of 1,000 light years out or something along those lines, 200 or 300 light years out. We're not going to see any more ships. Or you whack it back on if you're going to do a planetary landing. And that's pretty much the only reason for it. So let's go down. 4A fuel scoop. If you're going out in the black, take the best fuel scoop you can. I mean, that's pretty much, that's obvious. You can, if you're on like the ASP X, for instance, the ASP doesn't need the best fuel scoop possible. You can use like a 3C and you still get a sub 1 minute refuel. But with the 4A fuel scoop on this ship, we still take 1 minute and 33 seconds to completely fill, and that's fairly long time. So the ASP does have that benefit over this ship, but obviously we want to take the best fuel scoop possible because of it. Auto field maintenance unit. It's a safety net. It's an old shit button. You're probably going to fry in at least 1 star, so it's there just to make sure that some of your units don't fail while you're out in the black. And honestly, it doesn't weigh enough that I'm massively bothered about it being there. 2G planetary vehicle hangar. It's a totally optional thing. If you want to land on planets, take one with you. Otherwise, just don't. Advanced discovery scanner. No other discovery scanner will do, if I'm absolutely honest. Take an advanced discovery scanner. They're 1.3 mil, but honestly, if you're going out exploring, it scans the entire system. If you're gonna go out with like a basic discovery scanner, which does like 500 light years, and there's a black hole at 600 light years, you're not going to see it, you're not going to be able to scan it, you're not going to get the money for it. So in the long run, if you're going out for a long exploration trip, make sure you take the advanced discovery scanner, because the profit return when you get back is more, like way more than what this cost you to go out in the first place. Detailed surface scanner, no brainer. Scan the planets, you get like way more money. You get twice as much if you scan it with a detailed surface scanner as if you scan it normally. So if you're going out for money, do it. And we obviously have the planetary approach suite, which is a basic unit that's fitted on everything. And that is pretty much it, guys. That's the ship. And as you can see, with all of those A-rated internals, you still get a 34.06 jump range on this. Let's just make sure back in the cabin that that's exactly what we have. We do. So without any fuel, we do 36.81. So it'll increase slightly as your fuel goes down. But to be honest, you just top it up every time anyway. So we get 34 light year jump range. Even a level 3 engineering on that will take it up to hopefully a 40 light year jump range. Depends on what sort of roll you get. It's absolutely worthwhile. But for now, I'm just going to take it out of the station, have a little fly around and just see how it handles and what she feels like.
Landing coupler disengaged. Restrict speed until clear of the station perimeter.
Right, so first of all, let's boost away from the station. Let's just see how fast this little baby goes. She sounds weird, though. Not as burpy as the Asp, at least, who just sounds like an old World War II bomber. She's quite quiet once she's got going. Let's see what the boost's like. We've got 268 at the moment. About 335 I saw then. Let's see if we can get it a bit more. 345. Okay, so that's not too bad. I mean, she's not built for speed anyway. And I quite like the sound that she makes when she hits a boost. It really sounds like you're dumping something into the engine to keep it going. I like it. It's nice. We've got 2 heat sinks on us. Hopefully we won't need any more than that. So let's see how she turns. Now at full speed, she feels quite sluggish. Most ships do at full speed. Let's see what she turns like in boost. Okay, not too bad. So if you have got the best distributor, you can boost around pretty quick. Now let's drop it down into the blue. So if you want to maneuver at this speed, we're looking at about 130 meters per second. She feels much more responsive at this speed. I mean, she banks some rolls pretty quick. Let's see what she does boosting. Yeah, pretty much exactly the same as with full speed from boost. She kind of goes a bit more sluggish, to be honest. But that's not too bad. She doesn't rotate particularly well. But then that is the worst way of turning anyway. She is a pretty good looking ship. I like the dark matte grey with the orange details. It's very me. That is the sort of colour that I would go for normally. Oh, she's got some very restrictive lights though. Very central, very right at the front of the ship. That won't give you a very wide light on a planet if you're like diving through some dark canyons. But we'll see how she goes at some point. Am I going to hit a ring? Looks like I'm very close to this ship. No, we're alright. We're not going to hit a ring. But guys, honestly, I don't think that she's a bad ship. With a 35 light year jump range and only running at about 16-17 million credits, you really can't argue, can you? She's pretty good. She's not fast. She's not overly manoeuvrable. If you want that, then you would probably want to go for the Diamondback Scout. But I like her. She's neat. And she's prettier than the Asp, I think. That's a personal opinion. Don't get all weird with me. But the Asp really isn't a good looking ship. Not for me anyway. She doesn't maneuver badly. She doesn't have any unexpected quirks or anything along those lines. But I think she's good. I like her. She's one of my new faves. I'm a Diamondback guy now. Just like I was with the Dolphin last. These are the sort of ships that I haven't really bothered with before because I didn't go back to small ships. Now I've started doing that. I've gone back to the Courier. I've gone back to the Dolphin. I've gone back to the Diamondback. And they impress me. You know, none of them are a Python. But I think that's kind of what you get for with the money, isn't it? But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little look at the Diamondback Explorer. I will be out in the black at some point in the future. And I'll bring you back some sort of diary of how that goes. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.